Dawn and Dylan here from Romance
Hello.
Hour. Dylan's not in Michigan. Are you in Michigan or are you?
No, I'm in Omaha.
Omaha.
You should spell it.
Yeah. She's at a conference, so she's joining us from the road.
Nice.
My hotel room.
Yeah. And we're here with Lynn Crandall and Lynn Sprain.
Hi.
And Dylan, what are you working on?
Oh gosh, I knew you were going to ask me this too, and how am I suddenly so unprepared? I am working on edits for book 2 in the Lovebird Cafe series. Book 1 releases April 26th, so that's just a couple weeks. I'm getting excited and super nervous.
Nice.
So edits on that, and then I am also working on new words for a novella that goes along in that series, and that will be part of a box set that comes out in August. And then, Cowboy Charming is in the third book in the Holiday Texas series, and that will be out in July. So I got a couple things coming up.
Nice.
Keeping me on my toes.
Yeah.
So, and Radish. I don't know if anybody's reading on Radish, but I do have a second season of the Betting on the Bad Boy story that's going to come up on Radish. I just signed a contract for that. So that'll start up in July too.
A season. So okay. We're going to have to talk about this later.
They're serials. So they're like seasons. So they have episodes. So I think the first one had something like 50 some episodes, but each episode would be like a chapter. So it's between maybe 1,500 and 2,000 words. But it's like serial writing. So yeah.
Are you enjoying
the first
that?
season is like the first story. I really am. It's different because, you know, when you're writing like that, you're writing more, like I've been watching a lot of Jane the Virgin. I don't know if you guys watch that show, but
Not get into it. I just can't.
But it's almost like you're writing episodes like as you think of like for TV. So, you know, you're leaving them on a little bit of a cliffhanger where it's like, what happens next? You know, you can't wait till next week. You can't wait till the next one because they release like every 3 days or whatever your schedule is.
Oh my gosh.
The first one released Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Second season, I think it's only going to release once a week because I don't have the whole thing written yet. So it's a little bit of a different style, which I think is kind of fun. So I've got that going too. So now I just have to figure out when I'm going to write all the words because my kids get out of school in like a month. So
keeping you busy.
How about you, Dawn? What are you working on?
I am working on book 2 in my boot camp series. One will be released, I think, next month. I'm waiting to see my my covers. And I'm going to be getting a couple readers to join me for my cover reveal because you know I love to do fun cover reveals.
Mm-hmm.
So I am.
Oh, are you going to do what we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's super fun. Can I be one of your readers that helps do a cover reveal?
Sure. Do you want to be? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I need 2 more readers then. So I'll be posting that to get 2 readers to join me. They will get free swag out of it. So, but they have to actually be there to do the cover reveal, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. That's why I want to be one of your readers.
All right, I'll just tell. Should I tell the secret?
It's up to you. I'm just going to say Dawn is like the queen of crafts, and it's because of Dawn that I spent like many hours last week playing with my new silhouette machine. Look, I have my shirt on today. Can I show you all my?
Yeah, show us. Yeah, she made that.
That I bear my chest on the internet, but look, I made my shirt.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
Yeah. And it's still like it's still stuck. So it's Dawn's fault that I've gotten into my silhouette machine, but she makes things that are way cooler. I'm in remedial silhouette project land, and she's in way advanced.
That sounds like fun.
It is. It's a lot. I love crafting. It's relaxing to me. But I also wanted to mention, I don't know if Dylan's going to, but if anybody, what's the area for the thing you're going to next?
Oh, the Barbara Vay Reader Appreciation Weekend. Yep, it's in Milwaukee. And so I'll be in Milwaukee April 26th through 28th, and they have a public book signing on that Saturday, the 27th, from 3:30 to 4:30.
Yep, and we're gonna be. Is the gift baskets for the readers?
Yes, but that's part of the raffle.
Okay.
Oh, do you have our cups? Are you gonna show our cups?
I can run and grab it.
Don't you have a small child that will fetch them for you?
Let me text my medium-sized child. Small ones, I don't want them.
No, that's true. No, Dawn made these really super cool cups that I was bragging on you. I was showing the picture of our cups to some of the authors today, and they were all oohing and ahhing. They're like, "Where did you get those?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you because she's my source for cool swag. I'm not sharing her."
You're gonna
but now anybody that watches this is gonna know.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. So while my little minion is hopefully gonna get my text to get those. Lynn Crandall, what do you tell us a little bit about you and what you're working on, what you're giving away and what you're reading from?
I write contemporary paranormal and romantic suspense. And I'm working on, I'm working my way through a Common Elements project book. The Common Elements project is that about 100 authors are going to release books, I think October through December. We're all writing our own story, but we have to use 5 elements that are the same.
Oh, cool.
It's cool. It's fun. And mine is a paranormal, and I'm getting through it.
What are the common elements, or is it a surprise?
Oh, I can tell you. Yeah, it's
Okay.
A lost key, a haunted house, or a house that is perceived to be haunted, I think. A stack of books, a lightning storm, and somebody named Max.
Okay. And so everybody that's participating has to have those 5
Yes.
elements in their story.
Yeah, we have our own covers also, but on the cover
Okay.
it says Common Elements. So.
Okay.
And then I'm working also on the second book in my Dark Side series, which I'm reading the first book tonight. Reading from the first book tonight.
Very cool.
And I have my special drink tonight. Happy hour. This is my mug of root beer.
Woohoo! we like beer in any form.
Yeah. All right, Miss Lynn Spreen, what about you?
You know, I had such big plans for this year. I actually swore that I was going to write 5 books. The Sedona series of silver romance novels featuring women who are like over 50, because that's what I specialize in.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people that are writing in, it's women's contemporary fiction, but it's romance for, I call it silver romance.
Mm-hmm.
And Sedona, you just can't lose, But anyway, as soon as I declared my plans to write 5 novels in 1 year, and I'm telling you, I had it all sketched out. I had my first outline for the first book was like 33,000 words. So, I'm very involved with my outlines. But then we had some difficulty in my family with my elderly mother becoming very ill. And you know how they say that woman plans and God laughs?
Uh-huh.
Well, so that's what happened to us in our family. We're sort of just trying to stay ahead of things. A lot of people end up in the sandwich as caregivers. They end up having younger people on one end in their family that need help, and then people who are older. And I'm right there. I'm like squished. I'm the meat in the sandwich. I'm being squished.
You're the salami.
You too. Yeah. So, it's really been a blessing in some ways because it's taught me how to write in small increments. Like I did NaNoWriMo in November and I got the 50,000 words. But I'm at this point right now, I'm working on marketing my 5 novels that I've already written. And that's been very, very good for me. Partly I've been doing a lot of in-person events. So I'm able to talk to women about the midlife experience and get ideas for, like characters and situations that I could put in my book for the future. It's funny because when I have a table, here's a secret. I sell books at craft fairs.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you sign up for a craft fair, they'll say, "Oh, we've never had an author before." So, okay, that's the big secret. By this time next year, I won't be able to get into a craft fair. But anyway, but it's really a good idea, you guys. You're next to the soaps and the chimes and CBD oil. But anyway, as I'm doing my, I'm like talking to people, I get out in front of the table and I greet people as they go by, and I've got my signs up that say things like, take a midlife journey within the pages of my books. So they know exactly what I'm selling, and they're not going to come by expecting, 20-year-old coming of age stories.
Yeah.
But these women, I'm telling you, they come over and they talk to me about their lives, and it's just, we'll end up hugging each other and, just, then I run back after I say goodbye, I run back and I write notes, and so that's what I'm working on right now, is really just marketing what I have. I shamelessly put my books back here. I don't know if you can see them, but
It looks very nice.
thank you.
I didn't notice them.
Much better than my dirty laundry.
But the thing that I'm proud of is that, I was a corporate suit for about 30 years, and I wasn't able to write because I put all my energy into my job, like most people do. And so I really had to postpone following my dream. But when I finally was able to go to part-time and then finally quit, I was able to publish my first book when I was 58 years old. And it won an award for women's issues. And that's Dakota Blues, which I'm really, really proud of, because let's see. Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Because, to be recognized for that, it took me about 10 years to write that book because I had to learn how to write. And so, I would write, and then I'd go to a conference and I would learn that I had made a mistake, and I'd have to throw away 75 pages, and so it took a while, but so to get that award really made me feel as if my time had been well spent.
Yep.
And then the rest of the books that I've written they're like it's a series in a sense, but all of them are standalones too. So that's what I do. I specialize in women's fiction, but with an emphasis on midlife.
Oh,
That's
nice.
the story.
I love
Cool.
the title. I love Dakota Blues. That's a really pretty title. I love it. I don't
Well,
know.
thank you. The reason I named it that was because it's based in North Dakota, which is when I read the book, it almost brings tears to my eyes. I know it's embarrassing to admit that, but so much of it is about my family. It's almost like a memoir in some ways. My relatives came from Europe in the days when the prairie was was virgin soil, and so they have told me. I've heard my family stories about what it was like to live in a hut that was made out of dirt. They call them sadis, and I've incorporated a lot of the beauty of the plains and the prairie, and in fact. One of the motifs in Dakota Blues is the silence, the concept of silence and space. And are you okay with that? Are you okay with the idea that maybe at midlife you have a lot of space and promise to expand and grow? So that's what I try to work into, just basically a good romance.
It sounds like there's a lot of depth.
Yeah.
What?
All right, so we're going to start with Lynn Crandall. She's going to read us our excerpt, and then you're welcome to ask questions. And then from there, we'll move over to Miss Lynn Scream. It's a Lynn day. I love that. We both on this day. I really love it. All right, Miss Lynn.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, and do you want to tell us a little bit about, do you need to set up the scene, or is it chapter 1?
I'm going to read the blurb because I'm also going to start on chapter 11, not the first chapter.
Perfect.
So people would get lost.
Sounds good.
Ready?
You were up. Go for it. It's all you, Miss Lynn.
Well, here's the book. It's Touch Me. Of course, that looks backwards. But Bounty hunter Payson Silver stands on the top of the tallest building in her city and sees proof below in the cries for help, the theft underway, and fighting in progress that darkness is growing. Locating skips, lost people, and objects is only one of her jobs. Born in Aeon, a direct descendant of evolved people of Atlantis, Payson came into the world knowing her purpose in life, to balance dark energies with light and prevent the world from going deeply into darkness, starting with the city of Aurelia. Alongside the love of her life, Braden Powers, and other fellow Aeons, she uses her psychometric ability and special skills to defeat the mission of Dark Aspects, or DAs as she calls them, from turning the city into darkness. Her greatest weapon against the darkness is her ability to send the energy of light and love into the world. Her greatest obstacle to saving the world is fellow Aeon turned DA, Diane Butler, and her own resistance to her mission. Braden too battles a lack of commitment to the Aeon's mission and the reminder that he lost control of his mind control ability once with dire consequences. While he understands the importance of his work, it is only head deep, not within his heart. As bounty hunter and police officer, Payson and Braden counter darkness by enforcing justice and protecting residents from those who harm others and commit crimes. But when Diane's dark jealousy drives her to block Braden's mind to his real life and create a new one for him, Payson can't stop her. To lose her love is devastating, and she knows she has only 10 days to bring him back to the light. Dark forces are powerful, and Payson and Braden battle to save each other and their precious relationship while the fate of the world lies in balance. The battle for good goes on under the radar of humanity, but the outcome will mean the difference of a thriving planet or the slow death of all that is. They face difficult choices to save their love, save their souls, and save the world from succumbing to the dark side. Okay, I'm going to read from chapter 11, but I first want to say that this Touch Me is a little different than, I guess, an average romance, and that's one reason why I wanted to self-publish, because what's different is that I wanted to explore the concept of having a great love and then losing it. So in the beginning of, like in chapter 1, the hero and the heroine are already in love. So then the idea is that they have to try to get back together, and even though trying to bring them back together could be deadly. Okay, chapter 11. Payson's next move had become clear to her during the restless night, and it had only clarified more with her morning coffee. She closed her eyes in the elevator up to Diane's office in the Curl building and focused on the white light inside her body. In her mind, she watched a small ball of light grow and grow, filling her with light, peace, and love. A tone signaled her arrival on the 10th floor where Diane's office was located. Her heart skipped, warning her she was heading into the lion's den. But she was on a mission, and nothing could stop her, not even the seriously dark energies inside Diane and her minions. Their darkness was a black hole that could eat up light. It was aggressive, but she worried about people already walking the line between dark and light. They were more vulnerable to the darkness. Pressure built inside her. One full day and night had passed since Diane had taken Braden's mind. A deadline loomed. She had 10 days to get him back before he'd go completely DA. After that, she knew she could continue to offer him light, but his ability to see the choice would diminish. He would be hardened. She'd never visited Diane's office, and Payson didn't know what to expect. She marched down the hall. Marching had to account for something, considering what she was up against. The closer she got, the more prominent the whirring, like a buzzsaw, screeched in her body. She fortified her light. It was the best defense and offense she had going for her. She put her hand to the door with Braden in her thoughts. He'd lost his free will, and she meant to get it back for him. Inside the office suite, she scanned the larger office and breezed by the receptionist's desk. Can I help you? A tall blonde stood and tried to intercept her. Do you have an appointment with Miss Butler? No, Payson said without turning. The DA vibration in the room shuddered like a small-scale earthquake. It did nothing to dim Payson's light, though. She easily found Diane's office and walked in. Diane, I want to talk to you. Diane smirked. Hello, Payson. Have a seat. She gestured to a suede chair sitting on the opposite side of her large desk. What would you like to discuss? Payson ignored the offer of the seat, power drumming through her. Braden. What have you done with him, and where is he? Diane sighed heavily. I have nothing to add to what I already told you. Stop stonewalling. Where is he? It was much easier to face Diane when the walls weren't on fire and Braden wasn't hurt lying on the floor. Give me proof he's all right, or I'll talk to the police. She didn't yell. She planted her hands on the desk and leaned in, pinning Diane with her gaze. Drumming in her head grew strong as Diane narrowed her eyes. You're threatening me? It would be fatal to underestimate me, Payson. She relaxed back in her chair and twirled a pen. Braden is well, but he's mine now. Forget about him. You'll have to get used to living without him. Alone, like I've been all my life. Let him go. Her lips exaggerated the words she spoke. Let him go. Braden doesn't belong with you. Payson drew down to a deep awareness of the energy fueling her strength. It tingled inside her fingers and spread from her head to her toes. It flowed like soothing liquid sunshine, helping her remain grounded and sane in the presence of a sort of insanity. Diane's efforts to mesmerize her failed. I can live without Braden, but I will not stand by and allow you to take away his free will, his right to choose how he wants to make his life. Her words sounded solid to her. She hoped she was convincing Diane that she stood unwavering with the stuff to back them up. Diane rolled her eyes and Payson sighed internally. She saw the effects of using her power of light. It had helped her resist Diane's will and undermine her determination. Diane frowned. Braden's old life is gone, along with his memories. I've given him a new home, a new car, and a job along with fitting memories. He won't question any of it. He accepts it all as his status quo. Payson refused to give in to the despair that slithered around her throat. You supplanted his life with made-up memories and sparkly toys? Is that what you're saying? Are you one of the new toys? Payson gritted her teeth to keep her mind from imagining Diane's arms around Braden's broad shoulders in an intimate embrace. Why did you need to blow up his apartment? Wasn't that a bit over the top? Drama, even for you? Did you need the explosion to get a hold on Braden's mind? Diane's gaze dipped briefly and she pursed her lips. That's it, isn't it? You used trauma as a seed to a successful mind block, didn't you? Diane lifted her chin. You understand that he no longer knows you. You aren't even a memory. She twisted her lips, completely ignoring Payson's theory, and paused. The air went out of the room. If you try to reach him, you'll hurt him, and I will know. I'll end his life. Icy cold chilled Payson's bones. You like to make threats. The whole thing between you and me and Braden is a problem only in your mind. It's not a competition. Let him go and give him the chance to choose. He deserves that. It's the right thing to do for him and for you. Excuse me. Ha! Diane slapped her desk and walked around it until her face was only inches from Payson's. Right thing? Who says? You? You have no authority over him. She raised her hand and made to slap Payson, but Payson caught her arm. Let me go. Diane tried to rip away her arm from Payson's grip. Images burst into Payson's mind, instantly flooding her with misery. She saw Diane cowering in a corner of her bedroom while her grandmother kicked her and shouted obscenities. Her grandmother's words were harsh. You're a freak, Diane, and I wish you'd never been born. You bitch, you shit-faced brat. You killed your parents with all your neediness. If they hadn't needed to get away from you, they wouldn't have been driving that night. They wouldn't have been killed. Payson stifled a flinch and released Diane's hand. The temptation to find satisfaction in hurting Diane's arm glimmered in her gut on the embers of the chaotic images. Even though it originated with Diane's dark energy, didn't make it easy for Payson to let it pass. Thank you for sharing what you've done to Braden. Her composure intact, she went to the door with Diane's rage stabbing her over and over. Get out, Diane yelled. Payson tensed with the sound of Diane grabbing her stapler. She ducked just before Diane flung it at her, and the stapler put a hole in the wall. I hate you, you bitch. Payson held her center as she walked out, leaving the door open behind her. Her stomach twisted as she mulled over the premeditated disaster she let loose simply by loving Braden. She stood alone in the elevator, doubled over and leaning one hand on the wall. If she let go, her knees would give out. Then she would just have to get back up. That's it.
Yay. So what made you choose that scene?
It kind of gave a little bit of the conflict between the Aeons and the DAs.
Okay.
And the problem between Braden and Payson, because Braden is now turning dark, but Payson is trying to rescue him.
Nice. That was a good scene. I was just wondering, like, you chose 11, so I was I was wondering if it was your favorite scene or if it was a key event.
No, it was just illustrating some of the conflict. Of course, I love the book because I wrote it, and I liked the exploration of having a love that was important to you, and then, or not you, but I mean to the character, and then losing it and having high stakes about what she's going to do now.
Mm-hmm. Well, where did you come up with the idea? I don't read a ton of paranormal, but just where did you come up with the idea of kind of being able to invade the mind and replace memories and all that? Is that?
I've written a series of shifter books where they each had an ability.
Okay.
And, so I specifically wanted to write this about an evolved population. I just really wanted to do that, and kind of in the book kind of illustrate what it would be like to be this person who already is born knowing what to do with their life. So that's kind of loss of choice in a way. Someone else made that choice for them, and then have the ability to be full of light and love and peace, but yet in conflict with the dark aspects of life. And so they can either be drawn into the darkness, that's their choice, or save the world and save themselves and all that. And I just like that idea of having inner abilities. And then the psychometric ability that Payson has, I think just enhances characterization. And Braden's ability is actually called malfeasance, and it's where a person, it is kind of a mind control thing, but they can influence people to be good or to be bad, but he has control over it. And actually, some of the ideas for abilities, I interviewed people who believe in abilities of all kinds of sorts, and different types of populations on the planet, and believe they are part of that populations who have abilities. And so that was really fascinating.
Well, that sounds like it.
Yeah. What made you choose that genre to write in?
What?
What made you want to write in that genre?
paranormal.
Yeah.
Oh, my first two books that I got published were romantic suspense, and I read a lot of paranormal, and I was then too. And so I was writing my second in the romantic suspense stories, and I was starting to think, just all of a sudden, just like kind of naturally, where are all the fireballs? You know, nobody's throwing any fireballs and things like those special abilities that paranormal characters have. So then my next book was paranormal.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Linda is asking, in your shifter books, do you write any animal shifters?
Oh, yeah. It's a colony of werelynx shifters.
What is a werelynx? Oh, werelynx, like a lynx.
Yeah.
Okay,
lynx
got it.
shifters, yeah. And then I have a novella with bird shifters, and I'm writing jaguar shifters right now. So yeah.
Oh.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. Linda likes paranormal a lot. So
Oh, cool.
I'm sure that answer will make her very happy.
Yeah. Well,
two of my sisters were here because my two big reader sisters are big paranormal readers. I don't know why they don't come on, but my other sister and my mom are here, so they'll have
nice. Hello.
to give your name to them, right? It's the Taylor Scott there. That's actually my sister.
Oh.
This thing, just so you know. Sorry.
Yeah.
She's gonna go give your information to Baleen and to Mel for me.
The Shifter series is 5 books of the same colony. And those are called, the series title is Fierce Hearts.
Okay. Awesome. So,
and if you want to add a link to the page after this too, you can add a link to the comments or something if you want to put a link up to your shifter books.
Okay, I will.
That way people can find them easily.
All right, Miss Lynn Sprain, how about you? Are you ready to wow us with your excerpt?
I am absolutely ready to wow, or at least I'm going to try.
All right, good luck. Now,
you can tell that I have done this a few times because look at all the little notes and stuff that I have. But I have some favorite passages from my book, Dakota Blues, that I'd like to read. And this is the story of a 50-year-old woman whose life falls apart completely. I admire people who can create new worlds like Lynn did, or create new beings. You know, it's like you have to invent all kinds of new rules for, what is life like in that environment. Whereas with me, I just go with the regular old earth and regular old people. But the thing that I do that's, I think, special is that my characters are all older, and I really like it. I like examining what happens in the second half of life because, once in the first half of, like the first coming of age story, the kids get together and they find each other, they decide who they are, they fall in love, and they go off into the sunset. Theoretically, they're going through the white picket fence and the kids and whatever. But then if that's the typical romance, then what happens then? What happens after the kids are raised? I am intrigued by the idea that after the children are raised, assuming you have kids, if you're normal and healthy, you have as many years left after that as it took to raise that family. That's a long time to just keep doing the same thing or to not examine your life and your choices. So anyway, in this case, we have an executive woman, a workaholic, whose marriage is falling apart. One of the things about my character, Karen, is that she's been working so hard and her marriage has been over for a long time. But anyway, her mother dies and she has to go back to her hometown. I know that's a very familiar trope, but she goes back to her hometown in North Dakota. It's a very sweet, small town. And while she's in North Dakota, she plays golf with an old high school crush. And as they come to the end of the round, she's in turmoil because she's really out of practice. I mean, she's not quite divorced yet, But her marriage has been over for a long time. Her husband has impregnated a young woman, and so, they're on the way out. But still, she has, kind of a bad feeling about going after this guy, even though she's been crazy about him for a long time. I mean, they were in love together in high school. But anyway, she's kind of out of touch with her sexuality. And she's feeling a longing that she hasn't felt in years. So they come to the end of the like they're on the 18th hole. And it says, this is now where it picks up. At the last green, Karen watched him line up his putt, the him being Kurt. In a few moments, they would finish the round, return to their cars, and go their separate ways, a prospect that made her feel lonely and old. But she didn't have the guts to ask for his phone number. Technically, she was married, and besides, she was supposed to be grieving, not stalking a man. His ball dropped into the cup. Your turn, he said, brushing past her. Karen shook herself out of a hormonal fog, picked up her marker, and lined up her shot. When her putt went in, the round ended. As was the custom, the three of them shook hands, Kurt's grasp lingering as he pulled her forward and kissed her on the cheek. They returned to their carts to the garage and walked slowly across the nearly deserted parking lot in the afternoon sun. Karen knew she had to make a move, but she hadn't asked a guy on a date since college. What was the protocol nowadays? It wasn't like she wanted to marry him. What if he acted surprised, or worse, not interested? She wanted to, what, talk to him? Have dinner? None of the above, she thought as she watched him lift his heavy golf bag into the truck. I want him naked. The thought made her smile, but then the logistics struck her. Only Steve and her doctor had seen her naked in the last 30 years. Okay, so now here she starts arguing with herself. God, if it's going to happen, it had better be dark. And then she thinks, you can't do this, you're married. And then she thinks, I'm separated. And anyway, that didn't stop Steve. Well, what if he says no? If I don't ask, it's like he already did. Kurt straightened up, closed the door, and turned to her. Some of my friends are coming by for a barbecue tomorrow night, she lied. Why don't you join us? Kurt leaned against the bed of the truck, studying her for a moment before answering. Thanks, but I have another commitment. Okay, maybe another time. She reached for the door of the car, sensing her future stretching out as empty as the North Dakota freeway, and cursed herself for taking a chance. Of course he would turn her down. He worked at a college, surrounded by sexy young women, while she was half a century old. Women her age didn't date. They owned cats and went to the movies with girlfriends. Hey. She felt his hand on her arm and the deep rumble of his voice in her ear. He was right next to her, their bodies touching. She could feel his heat through her blouse. She turned, wanting to touch the dark stubble of his beard and suck up his lips with her own. He smiled down at her. Did you happen to bring a dress? So she's visiting from California and she's living out of a suitcase for a little while, and they end up going to this fancy kind of a dance thing that he's a professor at a college and he's being celebrated for some award. So that's kind of a hot chapter, but I'm not going to read you that. You'll have to wait. Sorry. But anyway, while she's in North Dakota, newly separated from her husband, and now she's newly fired from her job, she's feeling old and washed up at 50. And she's not quite sure what she's going to do with her life. She knows she has to get back to California fast and find a new job, but something is getting in the way. And that something is an old neighbor. Frida is 90 years old. And I have to tell you, this is kind of neat. I was trying to think of a name for this character, this 90-year-old woman. And, I had kind of a placeholder name. I don't know, Maggie or something. It wasn't quite right because, she's 90 and she's German. And anyway, somebody said, why don't you call her Frida? Somebody in my critique group. And I said, well, I'll look into it. I wasn't really sold on the name, but I thought I'd look up the origins of the name. Anyway, I found out that Frida is a Teutonic name that means small counselor. And Frida's job in this book, and she's very small, is to be like the mentor to Karen. So I thought, man, that's magical. I've got to call her Frida. So I did. Frida's 90 years old, and she's very, she can't drive anymore, but she has this beautiful RV in her backyard. It's a little van type RV, and it's been beautifully maintained by her late husband and then by a neighbor. And she's trying to get Karen to drive her to Denver to see her great grandbaby. And Karen doesn't want to do it because Karen wants to get back to California and try and find another job. But she's open to being, she wants to look like a good person. And so she's sitting on the back porch with Frida and listening to Frida make her pitch. So Frida says this: "Let me tell you something." Frida stared off across the yard, past the road track and the fence, to the open fields beyond, where a man drove a tractor up and down rows. Her head bobbed on her crepey neck, and her hands shook. "I feel bad about all you've been through, but it was lucky for me when you came into town. The minute I saw you, I got a feeling we were going to make this trip. But I'm not in the best health, and in case you didn't notice, I'm old. You should think about that while you're deciding what to do. I'm 91 years old this October if I make it. I've had a good life. I miss Russell, but I don't stop living." Karen didn't answer. Who knows why things happen? Life is funny. So when you showed up, I tell myself, if I can get her to take me on the road, it'll be good for her and I'll be able to see my great grandbaby. Anyway, I don't know who else can take me there. If they're young, they're working. If they're old, they can't drive any better than me. You're right in the middle. You're perfect. Frida paused, her bird-like chest heaving with the effort of her speech. I'm perfect, Karen smiled to herself. And the reason that that's meaningful is because Karen has been thinking, I'm old, I'm washed up, I'm not valuable anymore, I'm invisible, nobody sees me, I don't have anything to offer. The world is, it's not what I expected. At this point, I should have been happy, and I'm not happy. But here's this old lady saying, you're perfect. And it gives her a different perspective. Sometimes when I had said to my mother, I feel older, I feel like I'm getting old. And she goes, you're not old. I said, well, tomorrow I'm 65, you guys. So anyway, I tell my mom, well, I'm as old, I'm like, I've never been this old before. So it feels really kind of frightening to me. But she's 29 years older than me. And if she could wake up at my age, if she could like roll over one night and wake up in the morning and be 65 years old, I mean, she'd dance naked on the rooftop. It's like, it's all how you see it. It's your perspective changes as you change, as you go through the age stages, So Karen was happy to feel like, in the eyes of Frida at least, she was perfect. But anyway, so finally Karen agrees and they go on the road together. And this was part of what made me so happy about this book. I needed to do research for the book. So, I needed to see what North Dakota looked like and what, the area around North Dakota looked like. Because I hadn't been there for a lot of years and I didn't know. Well, my mother was getting ready to take a trip to North Dakota to see her even more elderly sisters. My husband said, why don't you go with her? Okay, so I did. We flew into Denver from California, and then instead of getting on a puddle jumper and, hopping over to North Dakota, we rented a car and we drove up there in 2 days. And along the way up there, and then 3 weeks later, we turned around and came back. We drove through, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this area, but to me, a Californian, it looks like wilderness. It's like you see signs of human habitation, but mostly it's prairie still, or it's open fields that nobody's farming. And we were there in what turned out to be a very green early summer, and it was so beautiful. It was just breathtaking. My mom and I are very similar. We love the outdoors, and when we saw a crumbling chimney, the remnants of an old farmhouse or something, I would pull over to the side of the road and just get out, and we would just look at it and go, oh, look at that. And then listen to the silence. It was so quiet. We're just both Midwesterners at heart, But anyway, so I captured all of that. As I was driving, I was I was recording notes, and I was taking pictures, and I was just recording exactly what it looked like. And then I put that into the book. So this book sort of reminds me of that journey. And in a way, it's an homage to small town America and to the Midwest. But anyway, so in this last excerpt, Karen has agreed to take Frida on the road, and they are driving. And Frida is like jabbering every 5 minutes. She's just so excited about being on the road finally. She just won't shut up, and Karen is just going, oh my God, this maybe was a mistake. But finally Frida falls asleep, and then this is Karen. And this is like really what happened. This is how it looks. A few minutes after they got rolling again, Frida's head dipped and she began to snore. Karen took a belly breath, her body relaxing as she realized until this point she had been holding herself rigid. In front of her, the open road spun southward without end. The wild fields on both sides of the road revealed an astonishing palette of light yellow, orange, pink, blue, and 3 colors of green: pea, mint, and forest. They were crossing the Great Plains, the ancient seabed that had drained in the Cretaceous, its primordial shells and fishy skeletons now layered underfoot. South Dakota, though treeless, was not flat. Rather, it was cut by red rock gullies and dotted with fertile wetlands, ponds surrounded by cattails, and small rock formations that rose from green fields. Although fenced with barbed wire, the land was uncultivated. Knee-high green grasses were edged with rusty gold seed heads, and when the wind blew, the grass undulated in waves. Among the miles of hillocks and swales, the occasional roof or windmill or crumbling rock chimney bore witness for long-ago families. A burned-out homestead disappeared in the rearview mirror, the structure abandoned as if the land had no potential and no value. To Karen, long used to the wall-to-wall crowding of cities, this abandonment defied logic until one looked around the vast expanse of grassland. Going about her days back home, she had assumed America would soon be filled with houses, airports, and shopping malls. But today's travel along the western edge of South Dakota dispelled that notion. This land would never be developed. There was simply too much of it. And that's my last excerpt. I hope you enjoyed it. That's it.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
I love it. I love
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Frida's already. Just like hearing her, I feel like she's gonna be like this little spunky like grandma.
You know what's funny about in the book, they they drive to Denver and then something bad happens and they decide to continue on. So Frida doesn't stay in Denver. She continues on even though she's really old and weak, and Karen says, well, okay, if that's your decision, I'll take you with me towards California. And they become closer and closer and closer as they drive. And they get to Moab and they meet these women. These women are like older, they're all retired, and they all have their own recreational vehicles, and they camp together, and they travel across the country and they camp together. And something happens and they become like a band of sisters, So you have this band of women, and they call themselves the CRS ladies. Do you know what CRS stands for? Can't remember. Sugar, Can I cuss on here? Anyway, so these women are so much fun, and they're so independent, and they party hard, and they hang together, and it's like such a compelling band of friends, of girlfriends, that I have had people come up to me and say, where can I find the CRS ladies? I'd like to camp with them. I said, well, they're in my head. You can't really camp with them, but you can make up your own group. So that's been very rewarding for me. I actually got a rhinestone pin made that said CRS.
Oh,
Well, that's
nice.
funny.
Yeah.
I think Dawn and I will be CRS ladies when we get older together.
Well,
I hope so. I hope we're that lucky. And then
Well, that sounds fabulous.
also as after Dakota Blues, then the CRS ladies are back in the second book, which is Key Largo Blues, where Karen shows up in Key Largo, and now she's got her own rig, and she camps with them, and she does things. She starts a business, and she achieves great commercial heights. It's a lot of fun. It's like I'm living vicariously through her. You know?
Sure.
So.
Don't we all do that a
Aren't
little
we all?
bit through our characters?
Yes, and it's a little embarrassing when people come up to me and say, "Is that autobiographical?" It's like, God, do I have to admit that? Yes, I guess it is.
No,
Lynn,
you just
find
say,
that-
don't I have a great imagination?
What? Find out.
Lynn, do you find do people ask you if your characters are like somewhat of you?
People do, and actually, my hairstylist a few years ago told me that whenever she reads a love scene, she has a little hard time of it. She knows my husband too, and because she's us doing the things that are in the book. I'm like, no.
I know. I have to tell you this. In Dakota Blues, it's fairly chaste. You know, there's a little bit of nipple action and stuff like that, but it's pretty clean. But the second book, Key Largo Blues, the heat level goes up quite a bit, you know? And so then, you know, it was an experiment. I was thinking I should be brave. I should write about sex. And so I did. You know? And it's one of my beta readers who's my age told me that I had to like cut it down a little bit because she goes, really, anybody our age that have that much sex is going to end up in the emergency room. So, so I had to make it a little bit more, you know, calm. But then for the third book, my daughter-in-law asked me, I gave her the book, you know, the third one. And she said, well, do I need to read this one first to make sure it's safe for your son to read? It's like, I don't want my kid to know that I know that stuff, you know?
Oh, forget about it.
Yeah. So there's a little bit, you bear yourself a little bit as an author, don't you?
Yes, for real.
Yeah, for sure you do. Oh,
You
that's
know, I
funny.
think that's part of what you know, we feel like, you know, as we write more and more books, we become more comfortable being judged, being feedback. But part of it is, it's not so much how did I write that or how well did I write. It's like, what am I revealing about myself? So they're judging us for the things that we're revealing about our characters, I think, you know, because every book is a little bit us. So that's my 2 cents.
No, I would agree. I think you're right about that. And I have gotten that question too. When friends of mine or neighbors or whomever read and like, I just can't help but picture you and your husband. I'm like, no, we have 3 kids and 3 animals, and no, I have a very active imagination. You know, it's if life was that good, I would not be having all this free time to write books. So
Yes, exactly.
yeah, it's funny. I mean, you have to think that you take a lot of creative liberties with your characters, and I mean, I know I'm sure the same for you guys, but you know, I mean, characters, you might create them, but they kind of take over and have a life of their own. And
They do.
I feel like you know, sometimes my husband would say, you know, like, how was your day writing? I'm like, well, I just can't get, you know, Cassie to do this or whatever. And he'd be like, you do realize, like, you're writing the book. I'm like, I know, but they kind of take on a life of their own. And so you may kind of give birth to them in your head, but just like your real life kids, you can't make them do anything really unless you know, unless they want to.
Isn't that beautiful though? That's almost a spiritual thing that they actually have their own life, you know?
I know, it's so weird too, because my husband now doesn't even blink an eye, but you know, some of my girlfriends and stuff, I'll say something about one of my characters and they just don't. They're like, but they're fake people. I'm like, no, I know. You know, it's like, they're not real, right? Like, you can't see them too.
They're not. They live up
here.
here.
And then you want the best for them. You know, you want them to get their happily ever after, and you want them to get everything. And so it's such a unique experience, I think.
Yeah, you do care about them.
So does anybody have any questions for Lynn or Lynn?
My mom does. Sorry, she's texting it to me because
Oh,
she doesn't.
okay.
She's in town. She doesn't have her Facebook with her, but she wants to know how many books you've written.
How what?
How many books you've written?
5.
And what about you, Lynn? Lynn, the other Lynn?
Probably 12.
Oh, wow. Nice. All right. Yeah, she is wanting to make some smart ass comment to me on here. She likes to do that for our readers, but she can't because she doesn't have her. She's on my brother-in-law's Facebook page. So
Okay.
You're controlling her.
yeah.
Did you revoke her Romance Happy Hour Facebook privileges, Dawn?
Oh no. She went to see my sister for the stay with my sister tonight. And so
Okay.
my sister, she doesn't have Facebook, but her husband does. And so they're both
Gotcha.
on my brother-in-law's page.
I thought maybe you'd banned her from participating in our conversations.
No. I'm just going to live on her a little bit. She just doesn't know how to use electronics. So even though she has a smartphone, she doesn't have Facebook on her smartphone.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Yeah.
I don't see a question, but Linda says, just because you're older, you don't stop the sexy times. And I think, I have recently heard there's a Facebook group for authors and readers, the kind of the silver niche. Are you a part of that?
Well, there's Romance in Her Prime, and there are a couple of other ones that are really good. And it really, it reinforces, see, here's what I'm banking on. I think that, the age group of the baby boomers, as they get older, they're going to want to read about themselves. And so I'm thinking that with 100 million people in this country over 50, and half of them women, and women read. So I'm thinking there's probably a pretty good market there. So I should get my Sedona books.
I feel like a large majority, and especially of my readers, are older. I feel like the younger generation reads more of the Radish style of books. I feel like because they're
quicker, faster.
Kind of not there at all, so they can only read in bits and pieces.
Well, they probably read things that are relevant to them, and that's what I hear from older women is that they, not to monopolize this, sorry, but is just that they, they've read a lot of younger romances, and now they're curious about what's in it for them, who's writing about them. So that's what I'm trying to do because that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah,
I think it's really good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep, very relevant.
Thank you.
Well, we are coming to the end of the hour. I told you ladies it would go really fast.
It
did.
It's fun.
We survived! Yay!
I'm going to show you the mugs for the readers.
Oh, yes.
Ooh, pretty.
So I made these from scratch. Well, I didn't make the tumbler. I bought the tumbler and then I painted an epoxy piece. But
What's it say?
it says
I can't really see what it says.
It says books, wine, and good times. And that's me and my camera here. That's me and Dylan's book there. So you'll be chilling with me and Dylan.
Yep. We should put our little book covers on there. I thought that was super cute.
That's
and
nice.
a martini. You put a martini on the hand.
Yeah.
And there's a martini. Yeah, a martini glass on there too. Let me see if I can get that.
Yeah.
Wrong way.
No, wrong way.
So how do we find those?
So these are going to be for a giveaway, a basket. What is it?
The Barbara
ahead,
Vicky Reader Appreciation Weekend in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes. And Dylan needs some people to come join her. So she's got a table. So Linda.
I don't think anybody is sitting at my table yet. So, and you guys know I'm not going to be able to sit there and just talk to myself for a luncheon.
And then you ordered can I tell him that? About the 6 foot tall?
Oh, I'm bringing a cowboy.
Yeah, she's bringing a cowboy with her.
Everybody should bring a cowboy.
Right. So you not only get to have lunch with me, but you get to have lunch with a cowboy.
Yeah, either that or she's going to eat lunch with just her, Dylan, and the cowboy.
Whatever.
So.
We do what we have to do, Dawn. I mean, somebody's got to do it, you know? It's hard to be us sometimes.
But you keep at it.
We're gonna do a giveaway basket, and there'll be these. And I had my little minion bring this, but I should have had her bring the rest of the stuff. And then there's like a little wine glass shaker that I made, and then wine, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, booze, free booze. Well, I don't know if it's free. It's like whatever. I don't know. But
Dawn is in charge of the creative part, and I'm in charge of buying the alcohol.
yeah. So if you're in Milwaukee, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you're getting all your Midwest states all mixed up.
So, I did want to say, Lynn Spreen apparently is our first Californian on the show.
I am.
And you are.
Yeah, we were complaining last time.
Yeah, you were. So I had to say that.
Yep.
And you are also from a state that I have not lived in.
Really?
You lived in California?
Yeah. I've been there, but I haven't lived in California.
There's so many different places in this state. There's the desert, there's the San Diego, then there's, there's different personalities. There's like the inland and then the coastal, and it's like 5-6 different states in one. It has so many different cultures and different personalities. Really, it's compelling to me.
And then Lynn Crandall, you're over by me somewhere, right? You're in, what did you say?
I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Indianapolis. Oh, okay.
Where are you?
I'm in Virginia. I thought you were closer to me.
No,
She's like halfway
Midwest.
between us.
Yeah.
You'd be like the midpoint. So if Dawn and I wanted to meet up,
I
we
can't
could.
hear Dylan at all.
Oh,
So
bummer. Did I
she's
die?
talking. I can't hear her.
Can you hear me, Dylan?
Yeah. Oh,
Uh-huh.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we better say goodbye tonight. So,
Thank you for joining us. This was fun.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
we love
Thank
hearing
you.
about your books. So, and you want to talk about the drawing? We'll keep it open until.
Right. We're gonna keep it open for this event. And I was supposed to pick a name for my winner for my book, but I forgot, so I'll post one right afterwards. And so next, April 25th, we are hosting Catherine Stein, and I hope I don't do this name wrong, Liberty Konchanowski. Did I say that right, Dylan? Okay, Liberty Konchanowski. So, and they will be joining us on the 25th of this month. All right, and we will see you all next time.
Yep.
See
All right,
on
thank
the
you.
web.
Thanks.
Thank
See
you.
you.